here with my July wrap-up. Now, in the month of July, I read 6 books. It was actually 2 trilogies, so I didn't read all the books that were on my TBR. I finished the Ruby Red trilogy, and I had started reading one of the books that I was sent for review, and I knew that I was slipping into a reading slump. I knew that I needed something that was really fast-paced, and I really didn't want to read the House of Night novel that I had picked out, so I started on the Shatter Me series. Now with Ruby Red, I think I gave Ruby Red 4 stars, Sapphire Blue 5 stars, and Emerald Green 5 stars. The trilogy overall I would give 5 stars. A lot of people say that they think that it could have been one book. And yeah, it could have been one book. It could have been like a 1,000-page book. But I wouldn't have cut anything out, really. There were a few things that I might have cut out because they were just kind of silly things. But for the most part, the main storyline and the progression, anything that progressed the plot in it, I think actually needed to be in the book. And I know it's kind of slow, but this is like a science fiction fantasy trilogy, and I don't know if a lot of people don't realize that, but fantasy takes a while to build up. You have to get the story, you have to get the world, you have to be able to know what's going on to be able to progress the story and actually be able to understand it. So it's slow. Just an overall synopsis for the trilogy. It is about a girl named Gwyneth whose family is carriers of a time travel gene, and she has spent her whole life believing that her cousin Charlotte is the carrier of this gene, and come to find out that everybody was wrong and she is actually the carrier for this gene. And I can't say much more than that without spoiling everything, but the whole trilogy is just her adventures with time traveling. It's not just going to random places. I mean, a little bit is like going to random places, but a lot of it is going to specific points in time. There's a lot of action. Its characters are based in high school, so there's a little bit of high school drama going on, and it can be a little juvenile at points, but I loved the time travel aspect of it. There was something with the time travel aspect that I was a little confused about, but I want to do a little bit of a book talk on this later on, and that'll have spoilers in it. So if you've read the trilogy and you want to know exactly what I thought of it and my thoughts for each individual book, then check that out, and I'll link that below whenever I get that put up. Now next I read the Shatter Me trilogy. It consists of Shatter Me, which I gave 5 stars, Unravel Me, which I also gave 5 stars, and Ignite Me, which I also gave 5 stars. Trilogy as a whole, 5 out of 5 stars. It is about a girl whose touch can kill people, and it is just her story, and I can't really say much more than that without spoiling it. This is a dystopian, and I guess it has a little bit of fantasy elements since her touch can kill people. But I really enjoyed this book. There was a lot of action, there was a lot of lovey points, a little more mature lovey points, but not like overly mature, nothing that would make you go, oh my god, about. And I thought the writing in this was very poetic. Tahira Mafi is such a good writer. I love her writing. And I am also wanting to do a book talk about these, so if you would like to know my thoughts on each individual book and if I had any issues with the series. Both of these trilogies, I thought they ended very well, but it also left you wanting more. So they had good endings, but there was still a lot more in the world that you didn't know, even though it felt like it stopped in a good spot. That's another thing that I'll have to talk about in my discussion videos, book talks, or whatever you want to call them, because it would just be spoilers explaining why you want more from the books. So I read 6 books in July, and every single book was over 300 pages, some I think over 400 pages. So I think I had a really good month for July. That's really good. And I've already started reading the novellas for the Shatter Me trilogy, and I really want to continue on with that, and I wish there was more. Like, I just wish there was more. I love Tahira Mafi's writing style, and Kirsten Gear, I love her writing style also. I'm sorry I didn't mention that earlier. The Ruby Red trilogy is by Kirsten Gear. Well, that's all for my wrap up, and I'll see you next with my August TBR.